Hi everyone and welcome to Murder UK with me, Vanessa. If you enjoy crime stories, this is the channel for you. I'll be covering murder, kidnapping, gangsters and all the horrible and nasty things that you hear in the news. So now it's time to sit back and enjoy. Hi everyone and welcome to Murder UK with Vanessa. And today's story brings us to Calm Outside Crematorium in Stoke-on-Trent. It's Stoke-on-Trent's only crematorium and it was opened in 1940. And for today's story, we're actually going to visit the grave of Stephen Johnson. Stephen Johnson was a 25-year-old taxi driver who was brutally murdered in Mount Cop in 1990. 25-year-old Stephen Johnson was a local man that lived in Hanley with his wife Kathleen and two young daughters, Roxanne and Deborah. During the day, Stephen worked as an insurance salesman and at night a part-time taxi driver. Steve did this for extra cash for Christmas for his young family. It was 9 p.m. on the 21st of December 1990 and Stephen had just started his shift at Scraggs Taxis in Bucknell. The car he was assigned to was a dark blue Vauxhall Cavalier, Bravo 5. It was a busy night for Stephen as people were out and about, Christmas shopping and going out for drinks in the run-up to Christmas. By 2 a.m, Stephen had already picked up 20 fares. His last identified fare was about 3 a.m, when he picked up a woman and took her to her home in the Longton area of Stoke. They had driven past Shelley's nightclub, which was noted for being packed, and it was thought possible that Stephen may have picked up another fare on the way back, but by about 3:15 a.m, he was known to have been heading back towards Hanley city centre, and at 3:20 a.m, he radioed in and said he'd picked up another fare. Later, some time before 4 a.m, two villagers in Patmore were woken up by the sound of an argument on the corner of Lordshire Place, and when they looked out, they saw a man shouting and then he started to walk off. It was noted that it wasn't known whether the man went back to Stephen's taxi or if there was somebody else in it, but it was said to have driven back off towards Mount Cop. Shortly after, a person that lived near the Mount Cop Inn at the bottom of Castle Road in Mount Cop said they remembered being woken up by the sound of a car labouring up Castle Road in the early hours. The taxi rank said that they had expected Stephen to have returned within half an hour. After they couldn't get hold of him on his radio, the company sent out another driver to look for him in Mount Cop, but Stephen was nowhere to be seen. At around 7:30 a.m. on the 22nd of December, a local dog walker came across Stephen's taxi abandoned on a snow-covered track off Castle Road in Mount Cop, and in front lay Stephen's body. Stephen had managed to walk 20 yards from where he was attacked in his taxi cab before collapsing. He had bled to death. His throat had been slashed. The murder weapon was never found. No motive for Stephen's murder was determined, as his night's takings and his pocket TV was still in his taxi when it was found. The police said that they had tried to account for all of Stephen's fare on the night he was murdered, but still had 6 fares unaccounted for and appealed for people that may have taken his taxi cab to come forward so that they could eliminate fingerprints, noting that, not surprisingly, a number of fingerprints in his cab had been found. The police released a photo fit of a murder suspect, based on the sighting of a bloodstained man who was later seen near the Rookery in Kidsgrove, about a mile away from Mount Cop that same morning by a woman walking her dog. She said that as she was walking her dog, she had come across a man wearing a cream or off-white shirt and blue trousers just standing there. She asked him if it was the morning after or the night before, to which he replied, no, it was worse than that, and walked off. She described him as being white, around 30 years old, with mousy hair that was dishevelled as though he'd been out all night. She added that she had noticed that he had scratches on his cheeks and what appeared to be bloodstains on the upper part of his left shirt. The police noted that it was unusual for the man to be there under the circumstances and, given the time of year, he was without a coat. On the 24th of December, at around tea time, a mystery call was made to Biddulph Police Station to say that they knew who the murderer was. They didn't give their name or details, and the police appealed for the caller to come forward. He rang once more, but then hung up. Police thought that the murderer had probably lived in or near the Stoke-on-Trent area. Over the years, police have questioned many suspects. A man in 1995 after he robbed a taxi driver at knife point, but no charges were made. Then, in 1997, a man was arrested in London, but released later without charge. And in 2014, a man was arrested in relation to the murder and held on bail for 5 months, but then was released without charge. On the 30th anniversary, Detective Chief Inspector Jason Everett of Staffordshire's Police Major Crime Department said, any new information that came to light would be considered. He added, we still believe that the murderer has connections locally, and it is possible that even after all this time somebody was told something or remembers something. We are disappointed that we haven't been able to find the person responsible for Stephen's murder and deliver justice for Stephen's family. So that was a tragic story of Stephen Johnson. We've actually arrived at his graveside. So if we just briefly take a look at the headstone, it reads, in loving memory of Stephen Johnson. I really hope that Stephen's murder or murderers get caught and Stephen and all of his family get the justice that they so truly deserve. And let's not forget, this is still an ongoing murder investigation. God bless you, Stephen. So if you found today's murder story interesting, stay tuned for more murder stories with me, Vanessa. Take care, stay safe. Bye for now.